Often accused by critics that I in some way or another continue to justify apartheid or separate development, as we later prefer to call it. It is true that in my younger years I defended separate development, as I never liked the word apartheid.
So guys, welcome again to another episode of the WSXM podcast, where our United Africa is on this Africa. So, I just came across a video with the Klerk, former president of South Africa. That's the president just before Mandela. He was elected in 1989 to 1994 when he lost to Mandela, but he gave an apology just before he passed. But I wanted to listen to the apology, and then I wanted to listen to the apology, watch it, listen to it, understand it, and then come back from my take on it, which I think you will like. So take a listen to it, and then we discuss it after. Boom.
This is my last message addressed to the people of South Africa. To my dear wife and family, I will say goodbye in a different way. Our country faces so many challenges of a serious nature. I hold firm opinions about all of them, but decided to keep this message very short and only really focus on two issues: touching me and touching the country. Before I do so, I would like to thank all my friends and supporters for the wonderful support and encouragement they gave me throughout my life and throughout my political career. Many of them were close to me, even for decades. Others intervened occasionally. I thank you for your support and your trust in me. I thank you for your friendship. Thank you for having carried me on your shoulders for so many years. The first issue I want to focus on is apartheid and me. I'm still often accused by critics that I in some way or another continue to justify apartheid or separate development, as we later prefer to call it. It is true that in my younger years I defended separate development, as I never liked the word apartheid. I did so when I was a member of parliament, and I did so as I became a member of cabinet. Afterwards, on many occasions, I apologized for the pain and the indignity that apartheid has brought to persons of color in South Africa. Many believed me, but others didn't. Therefore, let me today, in this last message, repeat: I, without qualification, apologize for the pain and the hurt and the indignity and the damage that apartheid has done to black, brown, and Indians in South Africa. I do so not only in my capacity as the former leader of the National Party, but also as an individual. Allow me in this last message to share with you the fact that since the early 80s, my views changed completely. It was as if I had a conversion, and in my heart of hearts, realized that apartheid was wrong. I realized that we had arrived at a place which was morally unjustifiable. My conversion, to which I refer, didn't end with the admission to myself of the total unacceptability of apartheid. It motivated us in the National Party to take the initiatives we took. From the time that I became leader of the National Party, and more specifically, during my presidency. We did not only admit the wrongness of apartheid, we took far-reaching measures to ensure negotiations and a new dispensation which could bring justice to all. This brings me to the second issue I want to focus on. Together with most other South Africans, I'm proud of our Constitution. The Constitution which we hammered out in the negotiations which started in 1990 and which culminated in the final Constitution of 1996. I fully associate myself with the values and principles enshrined in our Constitution. And I'm deeply concerned about the undermining of many aspects of the Constitution, which we perceive almost day to day. It is my plea that the government, all parties, civil society, and all South Africans should once again embrace the Constitution and interpret it in the balanced way which the Constitution demands. We need to align the principles of non-racialism and non-discrimination with the need to deal with the past and issues like affirmative action. We need to guard over the independence and the impartiality of our courts. We need to promote economic growth and job creation by basing economic policies on the principles contained in the Constitution and not on ideologies which militate against the Constitution. We need to make the Constitution the cornerstone of the new society we are building. The road forward is a difficult one, but I firmly believe that if we take hands, and if all the reasonable people in South Africa put their heads together, we can overcome the challenges we face, and we can fulfill the tremendous potential that South Africa has.
So guys, so that's it. I hear people is praising this guy for being sudden, giving an apology and he's sincere and blah blah blah. I don't care about that. This guy was the president of the NP, which is a national party, which was a party of apartheid. And before that, he was also in parliament in South Africa. So I don't want to hear this. I am sorry and all this bullshit that he's speaking of. Because what about all those black people who was tortured, pulled out of their home, beaten, set, dogs were set on them, and some of them was being eaten alive, and and some of them was unalive. I don't want to tell this, they don't. He was unalive. He was the president then, and if you were so sorry and apologetic, why isn't up to today, 2024, not one police officer who was in the apartheid time doing all this gruesome act? Not one of them was, not one of these police officers or white citizens who did all these horrendous things to black people. Not one of them was prosecuted up to 2024. So this apology is something just to set his guilty mind free, because he knows he's on his deathbed and he want to, as what people do when in a deathbed, try to ask for forgiveness for all the terrible things they've done through their life. I don't want to hear it, and I don't care who wanna say, oh, and I see people using Christianity as oh, he apologizes for forgiving. Black people in a whole, you cannot be listening to this and talk about, yes, we accept your apology. For what? When he enriching himself, was he apologizing then? When black people was being tortured, beaten, dragged out of their homes, was he apologizing then? When people got dogs set on them, was he apologizing then? When the freedom fighters, the four freedom fighters, I forget the name off the top of my head, when they were murdered by these 6 white police officers, up to today they haven't been arrested or charged. They were set free and protected by the same president, because he was the president at the time. And don't forget, he wasn't just become president, he was in parliament. And the only reason he ended apartheid wasn't because of, oh, he didn't like it or blah. He was forced to, he didn't have a choice. The pressure was mounted in the streets on the constant barrage of protests, heavily sanctioned by the Western countries, and the economy was crumbling. That's the only reason they they did a fair election and one vote for black people and that. Think about this. During his presidency, and even when he was in parliament, and he was a parliamentarian before he became president, white kids have their school properly furnished, hospitals. Everything that we use today was separated then. People think about it. I was born in the 80s, early 80s, so I knew of some of what was going on. As a young child, we used to watch this on TV, and it used to be told to us by our parents, and I grew up to understand it. White kids have schools furnished, black kids don't have schools furnished. They don't really have schools. We could not use their hospitals. They separated us in hospitals, so if you were sick, you cannot go to the white people hospital. Toilets, you could not use the public restrooms in South Africa. You could not even use the water fountains in South Africa because it was so segregated. Everything, transportation, black people have to go walking while white people sit on buses and watch us walking around. And he was privy to all of this. Why didn't he stop that when he became president in 1989? Why was that still going on? So I don't want to hear no apology and because your ass soon dead. Don't care. People are giving him praise for that, but yet still people are still um talking, black people are still against Julius Malema while they are protecting and accepting apology from this racist apartheid president. He can say what he wants, no, because he's on his deathbed. Don't care. If anyone apologizes for anything they have done throughout their life, and the deathbed, it doesn't count. That's the end of their days when they no longer have the strength or the will or the morale to go on. So they're trying to sneak their way into have a guilt-free conscience when they pass. No, I'm not for that. No way, no how. You was alive, and during that time you did nothing to help black people. Not one thing. And he talking about justice. What justice? Every single offender walk free. Talking about constitution, they did the only reason they did the new constitution because they had to. Again, it's not because of choice. It was because of they had to. So I don't want to hear this he looks sincere and he's sincere. Don't care. 'Cause if he wasn't dying, he would not give that apology. So he can keep his apology. And I don't care who vex or who vex lose. Really don't care. We are too quick to forgive these people who have done horrendous things to us. No, I'm sorry, I can't. That's why Malema need to become president. And not only become president, take back our land that was stolen. Because people with land have value. Because if once you have a property, you can go to the bank, you can get a loan to start a business or to build a home. That's what having land does. It gives you access to wealth because land is wealth. But all of that was taken away. Even after, if he was so sorry, why didn't he, after apartheid, put into effect the economic the economic act that was written for to keep to so that black people can have access to wealth. That was not put in place even after he came with the presidency. And if he was that sorry, he would have put it into play. But no. So I watched some of the comments in that video, and I saw people, black people saying, Yes, they accept his apology. He looks sincere. He sounds sincere. I don't give a damn how he sounds or look. He still was a part of the system that he was president of and also grew up in. Don't want to hear it. So anyway, if you argue with me or not, let me know what you think about this in the comment section. As always, tell a friend, like, comment, share, subscribe. Boom.